Yesterday, right in the middle of the workday, my wife, Ava, dropped a revelation that ripped my world apart. She casually told me she had plans to go on a date. Yes, a date, and not with me, but with one of her co-workers. I'm Nathan, 32 years old, and Ava, who is a year older, has been my wife for almost 7 years. Until recently, our marriage seemed solid. We lived quietly by choice. No kids, which we both agreed on, or at least I believe we had. But a few months ago, I started noticing cracks. Ava began voicing how unhappy she felt. She complained about feeling stuck, smothered by a life that felt repetitive and dull. One day, out of nowhere, she even floated the idea of having a child, saying it might bring excitement and a sense of purpose. Though we both decided early in our marriage that children weren't part of our future, I told her I was open to talking about it if she wanted. But after a couple of brief conversations, she brushed it off, calling it nothing more than a passing thought. I dismissed it too, thinking it was just a phase or a moment of restlessness. I had no idea it was the start of something far darker. And then came yesterday, the day she dropped the hammer on me. "I'm going on a date tonight," she said with unnerving ease. At first, I thought she was messing with me. I chuckled awkwardly, waiting for her to crack a smile. But her expression never shifted, her lips pressed into a tight line, her eyes steady and cold. She wasn't joking. "A date?" I stammered, my voice shaking in shock and disbelief. She spelled it out like she was talking about dinner plans, calmly telling me it was with Eric, a guy from her office. She insisted it was harmless, just something to shake things up. The word excitement burned in my ears like acid. I sat there, stunned, while she remained cool, even indifferent, as if this entire thing was perfectly normal. She told me how Eric, too, felt stuck in life, and how they had connected over their shared frustrations. It was just dinner, she insisted, just two adults hanging out. When I pressed her on why she even called it a date, her answer chilled me to the bone. "Transparency," she said, like her being upfront somehow made it acceptable. I felt sick. My mind scrambled, trying to process what I was hearing. Before I could react, Ava leaned in, gave me a quick kiss on the forehead, and walked off to get ready. I sat frozen on the couch, a storm of anger, heartbreak, and disbelief swirling inside me. I watched her from a distance as she got dressed, slipping into that red dress she usually saved for special occasions. But this time it wasn't for me. Watching her smile faintly at her reflection, something inside me broke. This wasn't the woman I married, or at least not the woman I thought I knew. Desperate to make sense of it, I called my best friend, Kevin. Too ashamed to admit the truth, I told him it was about a co-worker situation. Kevin tried to offer some hope. Maybe it was innocent, but deep down I knew it wasn't. This was betrayal. Ava got home earlier than I expected, around 9:30 p.m. She wore a strained, fake smile. Her lipstick was smeared, her eyes darting around restlessly. She hugged me lightly and whispered, "It was amazing, Nathan, exactly what I needed." It felt like someone stabbed me in the heart. And then, as if that wasn't enough, she dropped another bomb. They were already planning a weekend getaway together. I stood there, numb, while she seemed completely oblivious to the wreckage she was causing. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay on the couch, my mind on a loop, replaying everything. The reality sank in. Our marriage was dead. There was no coming back from this. But if Ava thought she could humiliate me and walk away untouched, she had no idea who she was dealing with. 7 years of loyalty, and this was how she repaid me? The more I thought about it, the clearer it became. I wasn't going to let this slide. The next morning, as Ava bustled around the house, excitedly getting ready for her weekend trip, I started forming my plan. I wasn't going to beg her to stay. I wasn't going to scream or plead. I was going to let her feel every ounce of the fallout she created. By Saturday afternoon, I had changed every lock on the house. Her key? Useless. I packed all her things into garbage bags and stacked them neatly in the garage. That evening, I quietly watched as she packed her suitcase, practically glowing with anticipation. She hummed while folding her clothes, oblivious to the storm coming. I filmed her on my phone, capturing every careless word about how alive and free she felt. I knew I'd need that later, both for the divorce and to make sure she couldn't twist the story. Saturday morning, Eric pulled up in his sleek black car. Ava, in another curve-hugging red dress, blew me a playful kiss as she climbed inside. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I simply watched them drive away, the last nail in the coffin of our marriage. When she returned Sunday evening, she found herself locked out. Her key didn't fit. She pounded on the door, calling my name over and over. I watched her through the security camera, arms flailing, panic on her face. Finally, I opened the door. Her face was a mess of smeared makeup and tear stains. "What the hell, Nathan?" she shrieked, trying to shove past me. I stood my ground. "You wanted excitement, Ava?" I said flatly. "Well, here it is. Your old life? It's gone." She broke down, begging, crying, blaming Eric for pressuring her. But I didn't care. She made her choice. Now she could live with it. I placed the phone in her hand, the one holding the recording of her gleefully talking about her weekend escapade. The color drained from her face as the reality of being exposed hit her. "You wrecked everything, Ava," I said in a voice void of warmth. "Now you get to figure life out on your own." I nodded toward the trash bags piled in the garage and told her plainly it was time to leave. She dropped a pleading, asking me to reconsider, but I slammed the door shut in her face. She stayed parked in the driveway for hours afterward. I didn't move an inch. The divorce papers would be on their way soon. There was no reversing this. In the weeks that followed, I felt like I was standing amid the wreckage of a storm. The house was eerily silent, but at least it was my space now. Ava wanted excitement. She could chase it, just not with me by her side. Once I filed for divorce, I finally began to feel some sense of peace return. I instructed my lawyer to send the papers to her parents' home, the only stable address she had left. Ava had taken up temporary residence with her childhood friend, Julia. I doubted Julia knew the full extent of Ava's betrayal or the fallout she caused. But Ava didn't quietly accept the consequences of her actions. She bombarded my phone with messages, calls, and voicemails, each attempt more frantic than the last, filled with desperate pleas and emotional outbursts. Her mother even reached out to me once, crying over the phone, begging me to reconsider and give Ava another chance. But there was nothing left for Ava and me. Nothing but a deep wound I wanted desperately to seal shut. Every time her name flashed on my phone screen, it wasn't just a reminder of her desperation. It dragged up images I couldn't erase. Her carefree laughter while she packed for that trip with Eric. Her dismissive smirk when I asked her not to go. Her arrogant confidence that our marriage could withstand anything. Those moments hardened my heart. Ava had betrayed everything we built together. There was no road back from that. So I wasn't even surprised when she played her next card, the one I saw coming. One Wednesday afternoon, while I was buried in reports at the office, I heard voices clashing outside my door. My secretary was trying to hold someone off, but I recognized a voice that cut through the tension. "Please, just let me talk to him." Ava's voice cracked with desperation. I stepped out and saw her, standing in the hallway clutching the divorce papers, her hair a mess, eyes swollen and bloodshot. The confident woman I once knew was gone. In her place stood a picture of desperation. My co-workers exchanged uneasy glances as I silently motioned her into a side office. "What do you want, Ava?" I asked flatly, arms folded. She held up the divorce papers, her hands shaking. I can't sign these, Nathan. I can't do this. I love you. Please, can we talk? We can fix this." Her voice broke mid-sentence. What stood before me wasn't the Ava who chased thrills and shrugged off consequences. This was a hollowed-out shell, empty and drowning in regret. But I refused to let myself feel sorry for her. "Not now. There's nothing to talk about." I replied, my tone like stone. "You made your decisions, Ava. Now you have to live with them." Tears welled up in her eyes. Her voice trembled. "It was a mistake, Nathan. I thought it would be exciting, but it turned into a nightmare. I was stupid. You're the only man I've ever loved." Her words tightened my fists at my sides. "You thought you could play with fire and then walk back into my life like nothing happened? You think I'm just going to forget? I said, barely keeping my anger contained. She reached out, trying to touch my hand, but I stepped away. I've given you my answer, I said quietly, then turned and left the room without another word. Behind me, I heard the soft sound of her crying. I didn't stop walking. It was the only way to protect myself from more pain. For a while after that, Ava finally stopped trying to reach out. Word eventually reached me through a mutual acquaintance. Ava had started therapy. It was probably the first genuinely positive step she'd taken since everything had unraveled. Even with that, I wasn't ready to fully let go. I needed more than her signature on a set of legal documents. I needed real closure. I wanted Ava to confront the full weight of what she had done to me. That's when I decided to send her a message, one that would leave no room for confusion or denial. I carefully compiled a detailed account of her affair with Eric. Every dinner, every secret meeting, every encounter she had tried so hard to downplay. It wasn't just something I intended to keep for possible legal use. It was my way of making her see her betrayal through my eyes. With the file, I included a brief note. This is why there's no going back. This is why we're done. I arranged for the package to be delivered straight to her parents' home. The following morning, my phone lit up with a call from Ava. She didn't speak to me directly, but left a voicemail. Her voice was soft, shaky, dripping with guilt. I got your package, she said, her words broken by trembling breaths. I see it now, Nathan. I finally understand what I did, how deeply I hurt you. I know I can never fix it. I was chasing excitement, and all I did was destroy the one thing that truly mattered. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just needed you to know, I get it now. I listened to that message, a swirl of emotions turning inside me. For the first time, she wasn't making excuses. She wasn't trying to shift the blame. She was simply owning the damage she had caused. And somehow, that brought me a strange sense of peace. She finally saw it for what it was. And that was enough for me to start letting go. The divorce went through quietly a few weeks later. No heated arguments. No desperate last-minute attempts. Ava signed without protest. She moved back in with her parents. I stayed in the house, now truly mine, her name wiped from every corner. At first, the empty rooms echoed loudly. The quiet was strange, but over time, that silence became comforting. For the first time in years, I wasn't coming home to heartache or uncertainty. I turned my focus inward, hit the gym regularly, rediscovered my love for hiking, even picked up painting again, a passion I'd abandoned long ago. Kevin, my best friend, never stopped pushing me forward, encouraging me when I felt like slipping back into old wounds. Ava reached out once more, her final attempt. She sent a handwritten letter, pouring out her regret and sharing how she was trying to rebuild her life. I never replied. She finally understood the enormity of what she had done. That was all I ever needed. She had her journey now, a path that no longer crossed mine. Months passed. The seasons changed, and so did I. I wasn't the shattered man who once sat in silence, watching his wife dress for another man. I had grown tougher, wiser, learning that no matter how brutal the fall, you can always rise again. One afternoon, while hiking with Kevin, we crossed paths with a group of hikers. Among them was Emily, warm, down to earth, with a smile that felt like sunlight after a storm. She joined us on that hike, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I caught myself genuinely smiling. We struck up a conversation. Soon after, I asked her if she'd like to grab coffee sometime. It wasn't some movie scene instant love, but it was real. Being around Emily reminded me of what love is supposed to be. Not wild highs or crushing lows, but steady kindness, respect, and honest care. It was a fresh chapter, one rooted in truth and quiet strength. And so, my story moved forward. Ava made her choices and faced the fallout. I chose to rebuild my life, one piece at a time. Whether Emily turns out to be my forever, that's a story still waiting to be written.